HarperCollins presents Dead Man Walking by M.K. Murphy. Read by Ethan Kelly. Now. Chapter 1. Sunday evening. Detective Sergeant Rick Turner eased through the crowd to the bar. The place was heaving, but he was tall and broad-shouldered, and people gave way readily. "He's here!" someone shouted. This prompted others to turn. "Oi, oi! Thought you weren't coming, Sarge." Soon he was running the gauntlet of backslapping congratulations from his colleagues. It was the night before the biggest day of his career, and here he was in a pub, smiling his thanks for compliments from people who a few months earlier would have crossed the street to avoid him. "I could be at home, watching a film, sharing a takeaway with Jess," he thought. But the boss had said he'd be here, and Rick had enough of a grasp of office politics to know that there are some invitations you can't wriggle out of. Relax. It might be fun. Rick's inner voice sounded a lot like Sam, his older brother. Mum, Dad, Grandad Turner, even D.S. Stott, his former mentor, would be more appropriate counselors, but of all the people who might drop a word of advice in his ear, for some reason, it always seemed to be Sam's voice he heard. "Here he is, man of the moment." Jim Stott in the flesh. In the last year, he'd turned grey, gained weight around the middle, and lost a few centimetres of hairline. Glass-eyed, tie askew, top button popped, his booze-induced rosacea was a flare across his nose and cheeks. Rick acknowledged him with a nod. "Jim?" Catching the barman's eye, he said, "Glass of Coke when you're ready, mate." "Put your money away." Stott waved a fiver at the barman. "Give him a proper drink. We're celebrating, aren't we?" The barman raised his eyebrows in question. "Coke's fine," Rick said. "You've landed yourself a big fish in this stagnant little pond, son," Stott said. "Let your hair down for once." The fish in question was Thomas Unwin, a barracuda of a businessman whose criminal interests had been impossible to pin down until very recently. "Thanks, Sarge," Rick said, knowing that Stott would be flattered by the use of his title. "But we're some way off a verdict, and anyway, I'm driving." "It's a poor do if a man can't buy his protégé a pint. This is huge, Rick. You're playing with the big boys now." Stott grabbed him by the shoulders and laughed hard into his face. Rick caught whiskey fumes, beer, and a whiff of desperation. But he smiled and tried not to grit his teeth. "I'm fine, honest, Sarge." "Give him a pint of lager, mate." Rick opened his mouth to protest, but Stott cut him off. "It's one bloody drink, Ricky." He forced another laugh, and this time the man's anger and resentment was barely veiled. As the barman began pulling Rick's pint, Stott slapped a box of mint Tic Tacs on the bar. "Anyway, I've got you covered, mate." He leaned in close. "Just in case you get pulled over." Rick glanced at the pack. "You do know mints won't beat a breathalyzer." "Well, you're the expert." Stott smirked, catching the eye of a few others bellying up to the bar. This was an unsubtle reference to Rick having once arrested a fellow cop for drunk driving. 4 times over the legal limit, the idiot had tried to mask the reek of whiskey on his breath with half a pack of breath fresheners. Since then, the rattle of Tic Tac boxes had become a standing joke in certain quarters. Rick grinned obligingly, tucking the packet into Stott's top pocket. "Looks like you'll be needing those yourself, Sarge." A spatter of laughter from the onlookers, and D.S. Stott flamed red from the collar of his shirt to his hairline. The barman set the pint on the bar and eyed each of them in turn. "Everything all right here, gents?" "Fine, mate," Rick said. "Just a bit of banter. Joke without a punchline." The barman's mouth twitched, but he quelled the smile. "Let's keep it that way." Rick ordered Stott a whiskey chaser and carried the pint away to show there were no hard feelings. DCI Kath
Sample complete. Ready to continue?